Hi, today I'm going to talk about the workflow that I use to create this realistic character rendered in Unreal Engine. The beauty of this workflow is that you don't need Substance Painter, you don't need Texture XYZ, you don't need Wrap 3 or ZWrap, you don't need Maya or 3ds Max. Everything was created just with Zbrush, Blender, and rendered in Unreal Engine. First I started in Zbrush. What you're going to want to do is either sculpt the base mesh or download or buy one. This is the one that I used, I believe. You can retopologize in Blender. That's what I would do. But sometimes I don't change the base mesh enough to where I need to retopologize. So once you're done with that, so I didn't change it up enough, so I'm not going to retopologize it. You do need UVs, so go to Z plugin. Actually, have it here. So Z plugin, UV master, make a clone of this. I'm going to take off and enable control painting, and you don't want the seam to be on his face. There we go. So now the character is UV'd. So this is telling it basically to unwrap along this area here. So what we can do is copy this, paste it onto the original, UV. So now we'll do paste UVs, and now this character has UVs. Okay, so now that we have UVs on the character, the next step is to polypaint to get the texturing. So one way to polypaint is to find a high quality photo. There's this website, Daniel Bushung, and he has a bunch of faces. The one that I'll use is this guy. Import that image. And add it to the spotlight. Scale it down to match. And the secret to having good looking polypaint using this method is to actually paint at a very high subdivision. So make sure that you're subdivided So I'm at 2 million here, and paint at that level, and you'll see that it'll look a lot better than if you're painting at the first or second subdivision. And play around with that. Once you're done, what you want to do is at the highest subdivision, because that's what's going to make it look the best, you want to go to your texture map, create a new texture from Polypaint. And so you can see your UV here, and you can see this texture. And when you want to get that out, just hit clone and export it. And then you want to do this, you want to export your normal map, which is more of the bumpy, to make it look like it's popping out, not flat. So for that, you actually want to go to the lowest, or whichever subdivision you actually want your game character to use, and create normal map. So now you have your texture map and your normal map, and even at the lowest, this is the lowest subdivision, it still looks good. So export it as FBX. And default settings should be fine. So there are a few more maps that you want if you want it to look good in Unreal Engine. So you have your normal map. We got that out. You can always just clone it and export it. There's also the where is it? The multi-map exporter. So I'll just use this to export the rest of them. So we need the cavity map. So we're going to use a shader in Unreal Engine that uses cavity and ambient occlusion. So we have normal and texture. You could just export them here, but make sure you have the normal map at the lowest. Make sure you're exporting that at the lowest subdivision and texture at the highest, otherwise it's not gonna look right. And I think these two, oh, and you can bake the micro normal. So the micro normal map is basically a noise level, a noise layer. There's noise here. Surface, noise. Now, the type of noise that you want to use is so this is how you get that small detail, which makes it look good. Sure. Noise, and now let's export. I think the normal map might look different now. And sure, let's export this one. So ideally the noise is matches with your UV, but actually I just used a generic noise and it still looked okay. So once you're done there, then you want to bring that into Blender. So that's everything in ZBrush. Your texture's done, your character's done. Ideally he has good topology. Now of course we need the eyes and the teeth if you're going to be using mouth movement, and we'll get that actually from the digital human in Unreal Engine. So I'm opening that up. And what I did was get the eyes and teeth off of the and the eyelashes actually, but you could just make your own eyelashes. And the eye water is something you can add, but you can just export this final mic. Turn off LOD, otherwise you're gonna have a bunch of LODs in there. And then bring him in, and I'll show you how to get the eyes and teeth real quick. Okay, so click on the mesh, pushing tab to go into edit mode, and then pressing P and separate by material. Alright, so you have all these different pieces, and all I care about is so I kept these eyelashes, but I'll just delete them. Oops, we want that. So we don't want that, we don't want that, or that. Oop, we want to keep the eyes. So that's the gums, the tongue, the teeth, the right eye, left eye, and teeth. And you're done there, and you'll see that the UVs are all in here. I tried doing this in Zbrush, but the UVs got messed up for some reason. Now we'll just import the head that we exported, which I didn't actually do, so I'll just show you the file with that. So this is the head from here, just exported, and it knows the material. So I'm in the viewport shading, and then so what I had was, so these are all the final mic pieces. You just have to move these around, so I can click this eyeball and press G to move it around, make sure it looks right in the right spot. Same with the other pieces. And once you're done there, you already have the textures, the base mesh, the eye, everything else. All that's missing is the hair. So what I use is the Blender hair tool. Makes it really, I'll show you how easy it is to make hair cards. You go to texture paint. Go to weight paint. This guy already has some weight painting. So you go to weight paint, set this to 1, paint where the hair should grow out of. You can even use this gradient, just like that actually. But I'm going to just paint it on. Okay, and this is a vertex. This will create a vertex group. Okay, actually I'm going to use gradient. Just okay. Okay, so here's the vertex group. I'll just name it hair. Go to particle, go to hair, switch this. I'll just switch this to object mode. Let's just do 200, hair length 0.2, and the density we'll set to hair. Now it's just growing out of there. And when you go to particle edit, with this hair tool you can just select interactive grooming and you can groom your hair cards. And this is, I gave him the more medieval long hair type look. That's what I was going for. So take some time. So just spend some time grooming this, and then when I'm gonna make another, I'll weight paint here and generate that. Go back to object mode. Click particle hair, two curves, and then these curves will give it some resolution and generate the ribbons. Align tilt will make it align with the head. And if I go into this mode, I can already start to see the hair. You can see that he's already starting to look decent. Now I'll go to weight paint and then just make a new vertex group. Just for this spot, and then get rid of this one, make some new hair. 50. This one's just going to be even shorter, 0.1, and particle edit. You can get it to look right here. And one of the key, so the hair tool comes with this shader or this texture, but since we're going to use the digital human, so if you go to bust, there's already a shader in here for hair. So I'm going to export the color, the diffuse, and out basically the texture and the diffuse and alpha, the texture, color, and opacity. So asset actions, just export these. Something you can use too is taper. And then you can play around with these, hair straighten, and in UV editing, you want to select the UVs. This isn't a full hair tool tutorial either, but just make sure you import the diffuse here, which would look like this, and then you can insert. So you can insert, assign the UVs, and the hair will match accordingly. You can see this part. So you can use whatever textures you want, but this helps me know that this is what it's going to look like in Unreal Engine for the most part. Unreal Engine has a bunch of settings as well that we can tweak. But this just gives you, like, this guy, his hair is not long enough, so you can play around with that. Maybe I should have put some hair up here and pulled it back. But once you're done, click on this one, shift click on this one, and select finalize hair. And now you have the mesh. I'll just move this in here and get rid of these curves. So now you have everything here. Just file, export as an FBX, and just the mesh. Just export it to the desktop. And now we're done in Blender. So the last step is in Unreal Engine. So here's that digital human project. I'll just go ahead and you might want to start a new project and only use what you really need, but say we have the digital human project, and we'll import this character. The most important setting that you need to make sure you select is combine meshes. If you do not select that, you're going to have 6 different meshes. So here's all these different materials. We could have selected not to bring these in. I'm just going to delete them all. Okay, so here's our character. The triangles are a little high. What you can do is, for the hair, you can decimate it. Modifier, decimate. And what's cool is I can go to 0.1 and it still looks kind of the same. You can just export it like this. In fact, let's try it. Apply that decimation. File, export, FBX. Delete this one. Replace it. And now let's re-import this guy. Now it's 60,000. We just got rid of 30k triangles, just like that. And you can play around with polygon count. So isolate will help you figure out which material you're looking at. So this should be the head. This gets us into the head shader. So there's 2 shaders that we're going to focus on, which is the skin shader. Actually, the skin shader is going to be the most manual, because the teeth. So you'll use the digital human gums. This is the tongue. You can use the gum, and that's the eyelash blur, the hair blur. That is the lashes, and that's the right eye. I'm not sure if it makes much of a difference. This one's the left eye. You can play around with the color of the eye. So the skin that I use, skin shader, is the one it's the Saru Unreal. If you search Unreal Engine skin shader XYZ, I tried making a shader with the digital human and it didn't look as good as this one, so you can go ahead and go to this site and just download the skin material here. I think I called it. So let me open up this one. Actually, I already have it open. So the skin shader is that one. So if you download this skin shader, it's gonna look like this crazy thing, but that doesn't matter because all you have to do is create an instance, right click, create material instance, and the one that I have this instance here, and it's very easy. All you have to do is import all of those Zbrush the normal map, the texture map, cavity, all of those, just drag them into here and it'll import those textures. And assign diffuse to here and then cavity. So the settings that I used, and then they come from an 80 level realistic character or something like that. This has breakdown of the shader and settings, and you just have to go in here and for these roughness zones in ZBrush, you're gonna want to just paint red, green, and blue. So I'm gonna push, let's see. So you can clear this out with the color fill. Oh, it is fill. Yeah. It should say fill over here for you. And then for the RGB, you can just paint the roughness. So color, red, so green to 0 and blue to 0. And if you look at this image, you can see the face roughness. I would use this as a guide. You can just paint these on here. Turn off ZAdd, turn on RGB, and everything here should. Oh, and some of these tileables I got from the Texture XYZ site. There's a free head you can download. It's this micro displacement. Once you have the skin texture, you can put that in, and then the hair texture is from this bust static mesh. I believe it's this one. And since you use the same diffuse and alpha, it should match up. So once you put that on, you have that. You have the skin and the hair, and that's basically it. Now you can just drag this onto, go File, New Level, Empty. Drag your created character here. Just reset the location. Double click and add some lights. Directional light. I'm going to hold Alt and one here. Just set these to movable so that that will show up, and then one back here. You can play around with the lighting. That's pretty much it. All right, thanks for watching.